It's live now.
Yeah, it's on live now. Yeah.
Live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dear viewers, welcome to an NFAPost live discussion on the pandemic crisis and its impact on Indian startup ecosystem. So the point is that the first COVID pandemic effect last year had its impact on Indian economy and business at large. And that recovery happened, but at the same time the second wave came in and it really toppled the entire expectation, and we are altogether in different landscape now. Saying this, we have to understand that in India we have a lot more startups joining the unicorn club. At the same time, few of them are going for IPO. From this context, we will have to evaluate the impact of a second wave of a COVID pandemic. So the point is that we have right now with us Narayankar from Bengaluru, Shalini Tahir from Amritsar, Kannan from Chennai, and also senior journalist Mr. Venkatesh Ganesh from Mumbai. So I will invite Mr. Narayankar to throw his light on the impact of COVID-19 second wave on Bengaluru startup ecosystem.
Thank you, Vijay. It's a very good, venture. I can say this, that we are discussing on such a serious issue like pandemic. Before I could make some points, I would like to be very much clear about what is happening. Let me complete, then we can take it forward. I'll take 6 minutes. What is happening is, it is too bad in terms of the responsibilities which we have, as a journalist, and especially as a journalist, and some section of the society, they are creating all sorts of sensationalization in the media and in various other factors. But when you see what is happening around the world, when you see holistically, India is still far better in terms of the handling of the COVID situation. There are some section in the population, they are saying that they are holding one person. I would not like to name him. They are holding one person and one government responsible. Fine, the central government, to be very much specific, their duty is to facilitate the state governments. And the state governments has to carry out, because they have their state ministry, health ministry is there, state department is there. So on the ground level, it is their duty to, it is their onus responsibility to provide oxygen, provide hospital beds and things like that. But it is very unfortunate that only the central government has been targeted. Let me be very clear, and constitutionally also, it is wrong on who understands constitution to hold central government responsible. It may seem political, but this is a fact. Even if somebody goes to the court, the courts, as you know, they have held responsible the honorable judges anywhere in India. They have held responsible the chief minister, the health minister. So this is one fact. So talking about Bangalore, right now, if you see India, I have some data. India, they have started to record a dip in daily cases, and they have logged 3,741 deaths in 24 hours. This is the latest. Now it is going on Times of India's website. This is according to the Health Ministry's updated data on Sunday. The total cases have jumped to 2.65 crore, and total recoveries now stand at 2.34 crore. The recoveries, for the 9 consecutive days has been bettered each day. So the situation, because of the partial lockdown or whatever it is, according to me, not full lockdown, it is partial because 6 to 9 all the state governments are doing. But earlier to this, what has happened in Karnataka, it was very unfortunate. Some scams also we noticed, something happened. You must be knowing that the beds were available, but it was not given to the patients. They were given to asymptomatic patients, and they were not actually admitted there. And that bed which was vacant was sold for exorbitant rate. That is quite unfortunate, and it also speaks about the administration of the state. Therefore, what I say is, let it be Arvind Kejriwal or Yadurappa or anybody, they should be held responsible. The people of the state should ask questions to their chief ministers, their and their administration, health department, and health minister. This is the outline. Uh, I made, and this is how it should be looked
Okay.
at. But from past nine days, things have improved. Even Maharashtra, which was quite high, it is also the daily cases are dipping down. So I think future looks good. Let us hope so. We don't know. The scientists like Vidyasagar, who is the scientific head of a committee, and he is being advising the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So according to him, he had predicted, according to his scientific study, he had predicted that the period between May 21 to 24 or 26, the wave will increase, and later in June, by 14th or second week, it will recede down.
Okay,
But they but he also mentioned that we should not be lax. Even after that, we don't know the third wave will be coming. So in a way, the situation, looks quite rosy. Now we can discuss.
Right. So, Mr.
Specifics
Narayankar,
we can discuss.
Yeah, so I want to understand from your perspective, Bangalore being the Silicon Valley of India, the entrepreneurs are looking at the large-scale opportunities thrown open by this COVID-19 because of the digital wave that is happening. So can you tell a bit on that, because how fintech, then e-commerce, then other areas, health tech, how companies are faring from this Bangalore? Because Bangalore being our Silicon Valley, they have a larger say.
Yeah, which you saw it during the first lockdown also. Lockdown is it's a godsend, manna from heaven, they say, for the startup sector. But it is not that in all the sectors, for example, OYO rooms, there the physical presence is required. But if you see the other sectors like medicines, then service related to vaccination, then service related to oxygen, then service related to hospital beds, then grocery services, the e-retail, they are doing magnificently well. But certain sectors they'll be hit, like I said, the OYO room and some other, where the physical presence is needed. But I would like to, bring to your notice that there is a talk, the funding has come down drastically.
Okay.
See, if you ask me, this is my personal view. It is my personal view. It should not be held by everybody. For me, the valuation based, business, I don't adhere to, and I don't profess also, and I don't this one. So you must know Mr. Vembu. He had said that, recently, and I will quote that he said that there are too many software as a service companies, that is SaaS companies, with too many apps. And in times like this, that is COVID, they will end up getting exposed because they have taken so much of funds. If you see, you must be seeing, and many are become unicorns, and they want to tap what you say the markets also by going for IPOs. So according to Wembu, and I feel, and I think he is very much right. They have raised so much of funds. Now, what is happening is this pandemic. Suppose, for example, Oyo, we take it. They have raised so much of funds, but the business is not happening because of the pandemic, because of the nature of business. So, what happens? The revenues fall down. So, what he is saying is that one who are already unicorn, one who are in the process of getting funds or process of getting into market through IPO, they will be hit. They will be hit. So in a way, one who have pulled their rug according to their height or whatever, so they will be safe. They are not they are not at all unhappy. In fact, they are very hopeful that in fact they are consolidating. So pandemic has given them a chance to consolidate, and they are very much safe. But I don't think the unicorns and others are safe.
Okay, thank you for your insight. Now we are going to Uma Kannan, who is from the Detroit of India, Chennai. She is giving some light on the automotive industry and other startup ecosystem flourishing in Chennai and Tamil Nadu. And because of the new government, new initiatives are coming up there. So Uma, please give me your perspective on the pandemic effect there in Chennai and Tamil Nadu, and new set of entrepreneurs, how they are coping up with the situation to take on the challenge.
Yeah, hi Vijay. Like Mr. Narayankar said, not all startups are affected by this pandemic. Okay, some take this as an opportunity. Like say, for example, I have a list of startups in Chennai that have raised funding recently during this pandemic time. Okay, one of the startups is, as you know, education edtech startups are like gaining very significant during this pandemic, especially since all students sit at home and go through all learning related stuff. It may be Byju's or whatever, but even small startups are gaining significance. Like if you say, if you take Flinto Learning Solutions, it's a Chennai-based startup. This startup has raised close to $7 million in pre-Series B funding recently. Okay, and this company has said that it will use the capital to support its rapid growth in the early learning space. Okay, early learning space is very significant because if you take this pandemic for the past 1.5 years, no kids are going to school, that we know. Like, but early learning is very important because that is the stage where everybody, all kids will get to learn something, at least alphabets and everything related to it. So this early learning space, Flinto has raised close to $7 million, and then it shows that there is like huge opportunity in this particular space. Okay, and it expands its newly launched preschool solution during the COVID pandemic. So all these edtech startups are gaining prominence, not just in Chennai or pan-India. You can see a lot of startups have come up in recent times, and they are doing especially, they are doing very well during this time. And one more company, as Mr. Narayankar was pointing out about this groceries and all these stuff, Tender Cuts. That's a well-established startup in Chennai. It's a meat brand that has raised close to 110 crore. So, I mean, like, so if you can actually look at it in different angles. Like one side, yeah, pandemic has affected startups, but other side, like there are also other companies that are gaining, that are trying to gain making use of this digital thing and gaining and even increasing the revenues as well if you take last 1 year. And one more thing I have, this happened only last week. This company, which is deep tech startup, we were discussing about the significance of deep tech. So this deep tech startup Fabheads, which manufactures carbon fiber parts, has raised close to $1 million. Okay, so in a pre-series round fund. This is led by IPV, Inflection Point Ventures. This company has been investing in good startups, if you take in recent times. So these are the things that I want to mention, and so I won't say the scenario is pretty bad, but it's kind of okay going on when it comes to startups.
Okay, fantastic. So going back to our now, I am going to our Shalini Tahir, who is from Amritsar, where we have witnessed this pandemic and also the farmers' protest. And also Punjab is known for the rising startup culture in multiple cities there. So Shalini, give us an overview of the effect of a pandemic and how startup hubs and entrepreneurs are looking at the opportunity in Punjab and North India per se.
Yeah, to say the second wave has really affected and crippled most of the businesses and the economy in a wider range. In Punjab, to say yes, the second wave has hit. If we look at it at a countrywide perspective, we would say that Punjab is not that affected or the count is lower. But if we look at it at Punjab's population perspective, then it is at a higher rate, the case or the positivity rate. And this has definitely affected the businesses, and the agriculture is what is majorly focused here. Even startups that are coming up, they are focusing more on agriculture. And for example, there is a startup, Jai Bharat. This is a startup that has been developed by a very young boy, some 23, 24 years old boy. And he is focusing on developing agricultural tools that will help the farmers, their manual work, which will help reduce their manual work. So this is the kind of startups that are more focused here, apart from the already catching up edtech and the health tech startups. So this medicine delivery or say doctor consulting startups, these are also catching up, and I'm sure that is catching up all across India widely, and we are also seeing new all the startups entering the unicorn club, majorly from this two sectors that we are having. But if we only focus on Punjab, there is more of agriculture startups that are catering to the farm sector. That is ranging from tools, machineries, to even say these delivery and making the farmers or helping them make their products reach the market or the target consumers. So these are the kind of startups that we are seeing majorly in Punjab area. And apart from that, the startup ecosystem is following the general wave that we are seeing in India. On the north India part as a whole. Okay. Definitely the farmers' protest and all that has hindered many economic activities, but then they have their own say and their own ideas to go with. So I would rather not comment on that part. But the startup ecosystem, I would say, I mean, there are reports that says that there is lack of funding or the funding has reduced because of COVID. But we are evidently seeing, on the other hand, there is enough funding happening and people are entering the unicorn club.
Yeah.
So fantastic. That is the overall situation here.
Okay. Now we are going to Venkatesh Ganesh, senior journalist from Mumbai, the financial capital of India. So, Mr. Venkatesh Ganesh, I think Mumbai had to face a bit of aggressive impact of COVID in the second wave. So now it is slowly receding. So can you throw some light on its impact on the economy and the financial sector as a whole and the startup ecosystem?
Yeah. Hi, Vijay. Thanks. And hello to everybody. Firstly, you have used a very good understatement that it's been impacted to some extent. It has had a significant impact, especially considering the fact that the financial capital is the lifeblood of many funding activities. So it has, and the city has been, and the state has been has been under pretty much lockdown for close to a month, which has had a huge impact on the economic activity overall. Having said that, some measures taken by the government, the central government, especially with regard to RBI releasing close to 1 lakh crore of liquidity into the system, I think will result in a trickle down effect over a period of time. Now, this period of time could be ranging from close to 2 months to maybe 6 months or so. It will take some time to sort of for that money to flow in and find its way into the system. The overall, yes, there have been the markets. If you see the stock markets, the markets have been bullish, and they have, apart from very few minor corrections, there have been practically no. It has not reflected the overall, the scare or the overall, the overall mood of what the the other news seem to suggest. The markets have been pretty high, and the companies have been going for IPOs. Obviously, not at the same level because there's a pandemic globally, so you don't expect the same level of economic activity to persist during this period. But yes, there have been IPOs that have come in, and I feel that I think technology startups of India really need to take a backseat and think about what is their business model now and what are they trying to do. If we look at the IPOs, it is not the technology companies that are doing an IPO. It is still a company which is into making, say, waste management products, or a company which is into plastic, some sort of polymer related industrial usage, for example. So the traditional, what we call as the non-technology startups, are the people who are wanting to go for an IPO. And if the so-called unicorns that we celebrate and the so-called technology startups, if they have to really acquire scale and size, they have to look at an initial public offering or raising some funding from the markets, which is transparent and probably which sort of also gives an indication for investors to participate in their growth story. So if IPOs are not coming in, and mind you, I'm comparing India with countries like, for example, China and even Indonesia. Chinese companies are doing huge amount of IPOs. They're going to the US, they are going to Hong Kong, and they are doing a lot of initial public offerings there. So they are moving the capital from their country and they're trying to invest it in other areas. And so is the case with Indonesian startups, fintech companies in Philippines, Indonesia, etc. So there's a lot of, see, the world is no longer going to wait for India to come and get itself ready for the next wave of startups in the technologies space, and give them time. Now companies are, I mean, if India doesn't do it, there are at least 1 million companies in other parts of the world which will come and do the IPO, which will do whatever it is to advance their position in the market. So I think we are stuck in the age-old battle of like what to do at this point in time. And for that, again, we go back to basics. So if your business model is clear, and if you feel tomorrow, for example, why can't a big basket go for an IPO? Why can't pharmacy or whoever it is, you do require medicines, right? It's not going to go away after the pandemic. So why aren't these companies thinking? Because I don't know, they are still in cash burn phase, I guess. So they are not probably confident of, or it's just a game. I mean, you just game the system and you just get as much capital as you can, and then you just walk away like some of the others have done. So serious questions need to be asked. And while the government is doing its bit, we cannot be solely reliant on government to come and bail us out every time, or help the system, etc., to find its way. The ways have to be found. I mean, it has to be, companies have to, like Zoho and everybody have found a way, that you have to have homegrown companies have to find a way now. I mean, Infosys never asked for so much funding to be raised before they went for an IPO. They went for an IPO because they had the confidence, and they said that we can stand. I mean, we can compete with some of the world's best in terms of offerings. So yeah, so the overall funding ecosystem, the market is bullish. So there's no doubt about that. But somehow Indian startups have to really think now as to how to take the roadmap forward.
I'll just add.
One second, Narayankar.
A few.
One second, Narayankar. 1 second. So the overall points, what you have shared right now shows that there is no dearth of funding, and there is no dearth of opportunities. And pandemic has thrown open a new wave of opportunities for startup. So the point is that this entire scenario is opening up a new game-changing era, in which I want to ask you, some of the startup founders have raised the issue of capital dumping and what we call regulatory protectionism in India. So how do you foresee a scenario where which government should come up with much more pro-India startup companies, in the sense with a regulatory framework which will help them to flourish in India, which is a market of more than 1.3 billion people? So do you see a scenario where which government also should intervene proactively to help startups to nurture themselves in Indian ecosystem, other than taken away by global companies or MNCs? What will you say? What is your take on that? The state government, the central government, how should come up with a regulatory mechanism? We will start with Mr. Narayankar.
No, he has started. So, Venki, you speak on that later. I will chip in.
Okay.
Because I wanted to make some. I wanted to add some more points, but let Venki start that. Then
okay. Venki, you can show. Yeah, right.
Okay, so yeah, the government backing has to be there, but again, the government has been doing its bit to some extent. I mean, to considerable extent. I mean, even last December, I think there was a proposal overall to see to it that the angel tax issue angel tax issue needs to be addressed. So they had addressed to a large point. So many issues such as that, and probably the ban on some of these apps, which was an indirect way of saying that, okay, we'll support startups. Now let's take that question forward. So if they have done that, what have the startups done? There was initially, for a week or so, there were 3 or 4 startups which came in and which said that, we have this video calling app, we have this app which does Indian version of TikTok. But I mean, now look at where they are. I mean, do you hear anything from them? Where are they in the overall journey? This was in the month of last year it was. So we're looking at almost 5 months now, wherein these people have, after that initial few announcements that they made, they just were not able to sort of, I mean, you can't hear anything from them basically. So then the question arises, if that is the case, what are they grappling with? So then comes your question of financing, the fact that maybe they need deep pockets, maybe they need constant funding, or technology requires some amount of funding to help these businesses. So if that funding is required, then you'll ask who is to give this funding. So if that is the case, then obviously the government cannot fund these. I mean, the government is not in the business of doing business. It has to facilitate a regulatory environment. It has to facilitate an environment which it has been doing so considerably well. I mean, don't forget, we have instances of UPI, which is a phenomenal success now, is going to other markets, whether it is Malaysia, whether it is Indonesia. They are all looking at us for how we have done UPI, which is a tremendous achievement by the Indian. So the India stack. So all that elements, the UPI, NPCI. So UPI definitely, all these factors have gone. So there has been successes. But the bigger point is, again, I mean, that again comes to the government sometimes, that about how do we sort of, I mean, obviously India is not like some of the other countries wherein the government have a huge say. I mean, here the government can say, and you have all the right as an individual or as a business to not listen to the government also. It's not compulsory that no, you have to do that. Whereas in some of the other neighboring countries, etc., that is not the case at all. I mean, if you don't do that, you will face the consequences. I'm not talking about tax evasion. I'm talking about adhering to some of the very basic government rules and all that. So in that sense, yeah, they have a better advantage because obviously they have the capital, they are in control of capital. Here we need the ecosystem has to help us grow. So it cannot be the government does the regulatory framework and the government does all the other policy enablement side of things. But ultimately you have to look at you, me, and the common people, the business owners. How are they looking at this? I mean, do they have that whole vision of wanting to do something which can be the next, which can be the next tech big story from India? I mean, mind you, we haven't had anything since Infosys Wipro. So you're looking at, I mean, we had Flipkart, but obviously it has been sold off. It's no longer, it never did an IPO, for example. It never shared its wealth with the investor, with the investing fraternity, so to speak. So we had some of these people, and it's only the old companies which are doing that, whether it is Reliance, whether it is Birla. I mean, I'm not talking about performances, but sharing of capital. So again, we need to look at, I mean, the environment, regulatory policy framework, everything is an enabler, and it will keep on changing. It cannot be one set of policies will do, but are entrepreneurs ready to do, take the next leap? Are their products good? Remember, Vijay, quality is very, very strong now. Now you're no longer competing with only India based. Tomorrow, an Indonesian or a Filipino company can also come and do business in India. There is no restriction, unlike in some other markets where they will be restricted. So if that is the case, are our products really that good, which can help us to continue? So a lot of things need to be, searching needs to be done to get a clear answer. But yeah, overall, that's how we see the developments.
Okay. Shalini, do you want to add something to it?
I'll just add. I will add.
Okay. Right.
Can I add? Or,
Yeah. Okay.
Shalini, you speak. Yeah, Shalini.
Yeah, no, Narayankar, if you want to go ahead, it's okay.
No, it's okay. You go ahead.
To add to Venkatesh's point, I was also looking at reports and have come across some reports that say that now technology companies or startups are more focusing onto like cities like say Bhubaneswar or Mohali, Ludhiana, right? They are shifting their focus into these cities. And say if I am taking, for example, Punjab, there have been companies which were, say, earlier Chicago based or US based, and now they have moved their base to Mohali and Ludhiana here in Punjab, or say Chandigarh, and then from Chandigarh they have shifted to Mohali. So what they are looking at is at the ease of doing business that the state government is providing. say in case of infrastructure or in case of the laws and acts that have been brought in, and probably they are finding it easier to carry on their business in such cities than in Bangalore or Delhi or even Hyderabad and Pune, which is like now a hub. So this is the idea that these company or the startup owners or the one organization they are conveying, and say in Punjab, the state government, they are now focusing more on bringing up the MSMEs, and for that they have amended some acts and they have brought in new acts that will bring in an ease of doing business for these MSMEs. And secondly, as Venkatesh was mentioning about TikTok and the rivals that were Indian grown or homegrown, uh, where they are lost, if you come to say it is about also the quality, as Venkatesh was mentioning. From what I have understood, when TikTok lost its market in India or when it was banned, I would say it is that point in time where the big shots like Instagram or Facebook or even Twitter brought in their new features like the reels, and the in tweet there is some fleet in Twitter. So these, like for example, Instagram's reel is something very similar to what TikTok was offering, and Instagram is already widely used by the mass, and the quality that Instagram is providing or the videos, like what I have seen or compared, if you see the homegrown TikTok rival apps and if you see the quality of what Instagram is providing, the user interface or the quality of the videos or the trend that is being covered, obviously Instagram is having a top notch with its better developed technology and backend. So apart from the government support and the government policies or even the funding, even the technological upliftment of the say of individual companies and their products is also playing a vital role and will also play a vital role in the future, is what I feel.
Okay, right.
Just I
Narayankar?
want to add, yeah, just I want to add without you asking the question. See, talking about the startups not going for IPO, of course, products and quality plays a very larger role. But to be very much frank with you, even Venkatesh will, even Venkatesh will agree because always uh, we deliberate on this factor. Why these startups are not going? Because once if you go for IPO, then you have to be really very transparent. You have to be transparent because you are answerable to the people. People are investing and you are raising funds from that. That thing, is lacking in startup, and I always say to the people that things are not, so fair or rosy in the startup world. It is quite a dark world out there, and there are so many things happening which has not been reported. Unfortunately, it has not been reported because what are the pulls and requirements of media now. They are not getting revenues. That is another. That is the issue. So yes, quality product, and more than that, it is the responsibility, the sense of responsibility which the Tatas, the Birlas, they have, uh, and also uh, and also they have lot of money. That is a different question. Now, even Venkatesh, talking about Venkatesh, he said that the stock market during the pandemic has really, of course, it has done well. But one thing I want to add in this is that I'm also invested in stocks and all this. I follow it each and every day. But the thing, overall, it is a very good picture. Nothing has happened so far. But when you go sector-wise, same as startups, what we were talking about, when you go sector-wise, see, IT is doing very well, IT stocks are doing very well, medicines are doing very well, but the banking stocks, it's take a lot of hit. It's just not moving. So, so sector-wise, if you see, there are some problems, but holistically, yes, it has not affected it. Which stocks, the stocks which have been affected have been, that gap has been filled by other stocks. Yes,
Okay.
and about the funding, I will just add, funding actually has, come down. It is actually has come down some 40%. I was reading in Bloomberg, or I don't know which, I think Times of India I was reading. 40% have dropped down. But as I said before, that should not be a worry. Now, whatever you have to do it. I again repeat what Wembu has said. Whoever have raised lot of funds, they will be exposed because their revenues are going to get hit. 100% it will be a mismatch, so they will be having a lot of problems. One who have not raised, and those people are very small startups, and they require not in millions, and so for them the funds are available. So to me, dropping down of 40%, actually it is a good thing happening, so that the consolidation takes place. The smaller ones, they come in, and they, of course, like Flipkart and Walmart. Now they have bought Flipkart. Then the giants, they can manage. They can manage with their parent group. They can get.
Okay.
But
Right.
so what I'm making a point is, funding, dropping down of funding is not an issue with me,
Okay.
and
Right.
many others also will be
Okay.
agreeing to that.
Uma, can you share some thought on this government intervention and the protectionism that we are expecting from regulatory bodies and government, per se, in India, to protect them from our global competitors? What is your take on that?
Yeah, like Mr. Venkatesh said, I think whatever he said is fine. But state government perspective, I just want to bring in, it's a new government in Tamil Nadu. And of course, he has started taking many initiatives, but now with full lockdown, I think here in Tamil Nadu, we have to wait and watch what kind of regulatory initiatives he will be taking, Mr. M.K. Stalin. He seems to me promising at present, but we have to wait and watch. It's too early to comment about it. And I also want to mention, like I thought to talk about it, about automobile sales that we haven't discussed about. Um, that thing I just want to mention quickly, just for 2 minutes. It has taken a hit, compared to March month, April month, and they're expecting the same in May month also. What new things they have done is they are following hybrid models. Like everything is closed right now. So digital sales, online thing, it's something that all automobile companies are looking forward to now. So they are expecting their sales to at least increase, compared to March, or they can match, Feb and Jan of this year through this online sales. That's something that we might have to, look forward to in digital, with the digital media, and with the digital presence. We maybe something that we can look forward to. Now, this is something new that's happening.
Okay.
Just I
So
want
to
to add,
summarize,
Vijay, I'll just add
right.
to her. Just one question also may arise to her. What I think, I have been reading, and also a lot of friends also from Tamil Nadu also have been in touch with me, especially during elections. I think Stalin, has been handed over a very good situation, because I read, and many people also said, even DMK supporters were saying that Edapadi Palaniswamy has done exceedingly well, to control the pandemic. So I think the Stalin has got a good situation to handle, because of Edapadi's Palaniswamy's, controlling
Correct.
curbing. Really has done very good this one. So, is it true? I just want to know from your side, how was Edapadi Palaniswamy's, if it is good, then you should be telling that you should be an inspiration for other states to, get inspired by Edapadi Palaniswamy's, controlling of the situation in Tamil Nadu. So, what is
Yeah,
your,
yeah.
observation?
Yeah, Narayankar, when we are talking about startups now, that I can stick only to startups. So as far as that is concerned, yeah, Tamil Nadu is, I won't say it's doing good. Okay, at present it's not doing good, but it's kind of on the recovery stage. Like slowly they are picking it up. Like what it used to be in maybe a decade ago, or like 7, 8 years ago, it was actually doing good in all sectors, like not all sectors, automobile at least, and startups also. Now they are like going back to that phase, I guess. That's what I said, like we need to wait and watch, like, after, right now the focus is on like controlling this pandemic. So after that, I think he will be taking some steps.
Okay, right. So to conclude our discussion, it is very nice to hear that Indian startup ecosystem is flourishing, even though there is a slight turbulence because of the second wave of pandemic. But at the same time, there is a large scale opportunity for them. And if they come up with a solid product and market plan, market fit, they can win the game. So that is evident in the fact that right now we have in India around 70 unicorns having around a valuation of 100 billion. And I think in the first half of next year, 50 more unicorns will be joined to that category. So how far the entrepreneurs and the innovators will look at the opportunity in India, and with some support from the government, how they can tap the growing Indian and global opportunity and compete with the other global peers in this similar space. So thanks a lot, our editors, for joining in our live discussion on COVID impact and its impact on startup ecosystem. And Venkatesh Ganesh, thanks a lot for joining with NFAPost editors with this discussion. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot all for this
Thank you.
live discussion. Okay.
End the broadcast. End the broadcast.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I am in. Okay.